Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Johnny. This is Near Native English, and I'm very excited to bring you this new English lesson for all you Witcher 3 fans out there. So without any further ado, let's get into the lesson.
I see you gather before me. Hungry, terrified, clutching your babes to your breast. Emperor Emir has marched his legions into our lands, laid siege to every fortress from here to the Blue Mountains. Rabid and ravenous, he bites and bites away. Men of the North, you stand at the precipice. Your kings have failed you, so now you turn to the gods. And yet you do not plead. You do not kneel to dust your heads with ash. Instead you wail, why have the gods forsaken us? We must look into the trials we failed long ago. In a time past, our world intertwined with another through an upheaval scholars call the conjunction of the spheres. The gods allowed unholy forces to slip into our domain. The offspring of that cataclysm was the nefarious force called magic. Yet we did not banish it, instead studying the vile arcane for our own power and wealth. And the monsters at our door, the unholy relics of this conjunction. The trolls, the corpse eaters, the werewolves. Did we raise our swords against them? Or have we laid this burden on others? On so-called witches. Stray children taught the ways of foul sorcery, their bodies mutated through blasphemous ritual. Sent to fight monsters, though they could not distinguish good from evil. The flicker of humanity, long extinguished within them. Yes, their numbers have dwindled through the years. But a few still roam our lands, offering their bloody work for coin. To this day, they shame us with their very existence. The North bleeds, flogged by war. The battles are the gods' whip, chastisement for our sins. And let us not forget the terrors, the scourges from beyond our world. The wild hunt rides the sky with every full moon. The Dark Raiders abduct our children into lands unknown. Some say they herald a second conjunction. Can we chart a course back into the light? Will we find the strength to banish the mages from our kingdoms? Unite around the warmth of the eternal fire. Nigh is the time of the sword and axe. None will fight this war in our stead. Nigh is the time of madness and disdain.
Okay, so the first word we're going to take a look at today is rabid. So, rabid describes a person's behavior that is excessively fanatical or over-enthusiastic, just like these soccer fans here. And this behavior is due to their extreme support or devotion to a cause, idea, or something. It's similar with the words radical, diehard, or overzealous. And some common word pairs with rabid are a rabid fan, rabid followers, like the Faith Militant in Game of Thrones, or a country might experience rabid nationalism. And the question is, which soccer team has the most rabid fans in the world? And next up we have ravenous. Now, to be ravenous is to be extremely hungry or have an extreme desire or need for something. Just like these ravenous beasts here. Think of the words starving, famished, or craving. And some of the words that go together with ravenous are ravenous hunger, ravenous appetite, or someone might have a ravenous desire, just like Kobe Bryant, who would stop at nothing to help his team win. So next, let's take a look at precipice. So the literal meaning of precipice refers to a very steep side of a cliff or a mountain, but it can also mean a very dangerous situation that could lead to harm, failure, or something very bad. It's comparable with the words cliff, edge, or brink. So a company may be at the precipice of bankruptcy, or we could be at the precipice of an economic recession, or a country may be at the precipice of political anarchy. And now let's check out the word forsake. So forsake is to leave someone or something behind, usually when they need you. It's kind of like the words abandon, desert, or leave behind. So someone might forsake their faith, or even their family, or they might forsake their native culture and heritage. And in recent times, there have been a number of babies that have survived being flushed down the toilet by their mothers. So in your opinion, should these mothers that forsake their babies ever be given custody of their child again? And now let's have a look at the word intertwine. So to be intertwined is to be twisted or mixed together with something, or to be connected with something else in a way that's hard to separate. The meaning is close to the words twist, tangle, or even associate. And some things we often talk about are relationships that are intertwined, such as a husband and wife's relationship, or fates can be intertwined, just like Finn and Poe's in Star Wars. Or some things we wish weren't so intertwined are things like business and politics. And did you know that worldwide, bribery is estimated to involve over $1 trillion annually? So do you think you could personally resist the temptation of bribery? And what could be done to reduce bribery? And coming up now we have upheaval. So an upheaval is a violent or sudden change that can cause disorder or troubles. And this is generally in political or social conditions. Think of major change or disruption that leads to disorder and chaos. So some things that your country might experience are a social upheaval, a political upheaval such as Brexit, or an economic upheaval. And the question is, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, worldwide GDP fell by around 15%, with some countries experiencing up to 33% unemployment. So what was the cause of this economic upheaval? And next up we have cataclysm. So a cataclysm is an event resulting in great loss and suffering, usually because of great destruction. It's similar to the words disaster, catastrophe, or tragedy. And some examples of a cataclysm are an earthquake, where thousands of lives may be lost, or a large explosion, or just like in war, which always leads to great loss and suffering. So World War II was a cataclysm of the 20th century, leading to a monumental amount of destruction, suffering, and loss of human lives. Do you know what percentage of the world population was lost during World War II? And next in line we have nefarious. So nefarious describes things that are criminal, evil, malicious, or wicked, and it's used mostly for actions or activities. Think of the words wicked, criminal, or evil. And some common word pairs are a nefarious scheme or plot, such as trying to take over the world, or you might encounter a nefarious villain, just like Darth Vader, or some bad people may get up to a lot of nefarious deeds or activities, just like in the mafia. Anyways, let's take a quick break to watch the next part of the story. And we're back. And the next word is vile. So vile refers to something that is extremely unpleasant or disgusting, or a behavior that is so immoral and shameful that it makes you feel sick. It's similar to despicable, disgusting, or sickening. And some common word pairs are a vile smell, or someone might use vile language such as swearing, or someone might be guilty of vile acts or behavior, just like the terrible things done during war. So genocide is an extremely vile crime that sometimes takes place in our world. What do you think are the causes of genocide? And is it possible to prevent genocide? So next up we have blasphemy. So blasphemy is saying, and sometimes doing, offensive things about God, religion, or something sacred. However, things people hold sacred aren't always religious. Think of the words disrespect, profanity, or heresy. So things like destroying religious books can be considered a kind of blasphemy. Richard Dawkins became famous for his blasphemy. And in Thailand, saying bad things about the king is also considered blasphemy that is punishable by law. And now we have chastise. So to chastise is to criticize someone harshly for doing something really bad, usually in order to correct the person or set them straight. It's comparable with the words rebuke, tell off, or scold. And some examples are a teacher chastising a student, or a parent might chastise their child, or a religious leader may chastise a follower in order to keep them on the straight and narrow path. So now let's check out flog. So to flog is to beat or hit with a stick or rod, usually as punishment. And it's very similar with the next word, scourge, which is to whip someone as punishment. However, a scourge refers to a specific type of whip and a specific style of whipping someone, like the Roman scourging you can see here in the video. Additionally, scourge has another meaning which describes something causing widespread suffering or death to a place or people. For example, terrorism can be referred to as a scourge on our world. And this particular meaning is similar with the words curse, plague, or disease. And some other examples are, of course, war, which is a scourge on our world, and also things like diseases. So the Great Plague was one of the most devastating diseases in human history, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 75 to 200 million people, or 30 to 60% of the world population, from 1347 to 1351. What would you have done to survive during this scourge? And next, let's have a look at herald. So a herald is a sign that something is coming or about to happen. So the wit here in Game of Thrones is a kind of herald signaling the fact that winter is coming, as well as a number of White Walkers. It's similar to the words indicate, announce, or signal. And people may consider the first blooming flower as a herald that spring has officially arrived. Or we could even say that the invention of computers and the internet has heralded the age of information. And last but not least, we have disdain.
On his way to the palace, I suppose.
Another suitor for the princess.
Out of my way, you filthy brats!
Hey! If I were as rich as you, I could afford some manners.
Oh, I'll teach you some manners!
Look at that, Abu. It's not every day you see a horse with two rear ends.
You are a worthless street rat. You were born a street rat. You'll die a street rat, and only your fleas will mourn you.
So disdain is to treat someone or something with contempt because you feel they aren't worthy of your consideration or respect. Just like how the prince feels he is so much better than Aladdin and the street kids, and so he feels they aren't worthy of him or his respect. It's similar to show contempt for, look down on, or despise. And some examples are when people of a higher social status show disdain for people of a lower social status, or when the economic status between people living close together is so huge, rich people sometimes disdain the poor people around them. And additionally, in sports, people sometimes disdain their opponents that they feel are not worthy or as good as them. And that's gonna do it for today. Now I'm gonna leave the full text of the introduction here so you can pause the video and have a read, as you should be able to understand it now. But if you made it this far and you enjoyed the lesson, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And once again, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.